My favorite apps and probably one of the more practical recommendations I could offer to students and I guess educators as well. This is called SoundNote, and it is an app for taking notes. It's Apple only. I'm creating this demo on my Macintosh. It also works on an iPad, and in fact, there may be some advantages in using an iPad. And to create this, what I did was just play part of a YouTube I had in the background just so I could get some sound. And I'm doing two things simultaneously when I use SoundNote. And you can see these two buttons up here. I didn't really want to take the time to show you it in action because, of course, it would take as much time as you wanted to listen to a sample lecture to demonstrate, and that isn't very efficient. So the way you use SoundNote is in a situation in which you are listening to content from which you want to take notes. And when you are in that environment, such as in a class or maybe taking notes from something you're listening to online, you first of all click record. And what that's going to do is record whatever it is you're hearing for later access. And then you start taking notes as you would, I guess, in any situation in which you take notes. There's a lot of controversy, and in fact, what made me think of doing this is a recent study I read that, in fact, refuted earlier research that was trying to argue that students taking notes longhand, or in other words, paper and pencil, was superior to taking notes digitally, such as on an iPad or on a laptop. And I've never supported that research because, in fact, what the research is based on, even though it has been shown not to be valid through replication, is that what you know immediately after taking notes was supposed to be superior if you took the notes longhand than if you took the notes on a laptop. And to me, that's a silly methodology because no one takes notes like that. You're taking notes essentially to have something to refer to into the future. And whatever it is you remember after taking notes, but not ever reviewing notes, seems to me to be pretty much irrelevant. And once you see, I think, what this digital system looks like and works like, you can, I hope, accept my argument that this is far superior. So what you see here is some notes I've taken. And here's the interesting thing. So if I go into these notes and just click, you'll see what happens if you look at the timeline up here, is that the timeline jumps. And what it's jumping to is the location in that recording when you actually took the note. The value in that is if later on the notes no longer make sense to you, you can do what I just did, click in your notes, and then if you play, you can hear me typing, or you can hear what also I'm listening to. You can listen to the note, you can listen to the original content again. So the way to do that would be because you're not going to listen to the lecture over and over again. That's just silly. You're going to use your notes to study from, And if you find things that don't make sense to you, you have the option of just clicking at that location and listening to the original content again. And in fact, what I learned to do in taking notes is sometimes, you can't keep up, or when you're doing it, you didn't understand that, but of course the lecture is going on. There's not much more you can do. I just enter something in the notes themselves, like XXX, or I can't understand this, or whatever, and you can then come back and listen to that again. So it's even a reminder that you were having trouble understanding at that point. Now, this particular app, again, it's called SoundNote, has the capacity to draw, so you can click the app and you can mark. You can make diagrams. I was a long time ago a biology major, and of course I know that in that kind of setting, you're going to want to sketch some things, because there's so many things you need to be able to study and to get from a presentation beyond just the text and the words. You're going to want to be able to record images, and you can make some crude drawings. I'm just not very good with a mouse doing that, and that's why working on an iPad where you can draw with your pencil, with a stylus, or with your finger, makes a lot more sense. All right, so that's the basic logic. Simultaneously record sound and take notes. Use the notes to reference the sound again if you have to. This has one more feature, and this is new from earlier times when I actually used this quite frequently, and that is the transcription. So if I click the button up here, you'll see what it's going to do is give me the option
to explain this theory. I like to
of actually going back to the sound. You can hear the sound playing, perhaps.
What's regarded as the traditional view might go something like
and you can see what it's doing is transcribing that sound quite accurately. So if you actually need to have a word-by-word summary of what was said, in addition to the original sound, in addition to your notes, it's able to generate this complete transcription. Whenever I've had enough and I click done, you're going to see what it's going to do is enter that content here. So I suppose what you could do is you have the notes and then you have the complete transcription at the bottom. So this is a digital note-taking app for Apple products, that being Apple laptops, which you would, of course, take into a class situation, or the iPad. What it does is to simultaneously record and link both the sound from the lecture, from the presentation, and the notes you take, such that if you want, you can click in your notes, tap on your notes, I guess, if you're using an iPad, and it will take you back in the timeline of that sound recording to the point at which you heard that. Now, you're going to take notes after you hear something, so you don't want to go to exactly the point at which you're taking notes. So what you do then is you scrub back a little bit in the timeline before the point at which you try to start taking notes, and you can then hear the audio you're really looking for. And in addition, there is the opportunity to embed drawings, and finally to transcribe the sound into text if you would find that to be more helpful. SoundNote.